talking about cross sports today.
Oh yeah.
The other day, spins inside my head. Should probably go and do something instead. But what's the point when you're so far away? I'm crippled by the things I want to say. Oh, 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 oh. I love you and there's no way you can know. Oh, 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 oh. What I'm trying to convey. Oh, 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 oh. I love you and there's no way you can know. Oh, 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 oh. You're the one that got away. Another week spent inside these walls, waiting patiently for you to call. Pretty sure the phone may never ring. Or maybe you'll just hear me when I sing. Hey. Oh, 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 oh. I love you and there's no way you can know. Oh, 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 oh. What I'm trying to convey. Oh, 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 oh. I love you and there's no way you can know. Oh, 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 oh. You're the one that got away.
Hi. It's never really been a secret of mine that I love cross sports. And for those of you who don't know what cross sports is, well, it's somebody who doesn't only do one sport and crosses sports. Wow.
You're fucked. You're fucked, Carol. You're fucked. Look,
Man, what about Gino's part? Come on, you gotta take your hat off. You know, backside 360 Manny down the Rosalind Banks.
I feel like that was.
I've been active in cross sports for 20 years, something like that. 20 years. I would have been 10 or so when I got my first skateboard, so yeah, 20 years. So what is cross sports? Why am I advocating for it? How does cross sports ideology hope to change extreme sports as a whole? And all of these are very, 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 very simple to answer, because if you are a member of any of these communities, you know that there can be quite a bit of toxicity from one sport to another. You do have in the communities their own slang to disrespect people who participate in alternative sports that are not the ones that they participate in. And X Sports is one of those things that is trying to rectify a lot of the entry difficulty into extreme sports. And our number one goal as a community is to eliminate the mindset of the past, which is to be extremely disrespectful to one another for participating in different sports other than the one that you chose. Specifically chosen Plastic Pushers here because Plastic Pushers is kind of a spin-off of one of the insults that is constantly thrown at inliners, which is fruit booters and things like that. And again, just completely inappropriate, unnecessary for the context of the situation. No, we are here as inliners, skaters, BMXers. We're one community who deserve to get along. Of all things, we should support each other. That was sick. That was really high. So comfortable. Well, one of the things about getting into exports and trying these exports is so many people look at what inliners are doing and will say, oh, that's not hard. And then I have to say, then go do it. It is extremely hard and it is terrifying, but it's incredible. And when an inliner is at the skate park, I have the exact same respect for them as I do anybody else. But inlining is something that we know and understand and respect as an action sport currently. And congratulations, by the way, to everybody who's getting into inlining. It's amazing to see it growing again. I know as soon as I got my blades, I heard from quite a few people about getting blades and practicing for themselves, especially some of my older friends looking to get into something that isn't skateboarding, biking, or scootering. And inlining was very interesting to them because it's a very approachable sport. It has a lot of other vectors, such as roller inline. So roller inline is just considered your urban experience. These are fast skates made to go fast and is just a variant of inlining in general. But to some people, this is completely different than aggressive inline. And in cross-sport world, this is not different in the slightest. What you do and how you approach the sport is different, but you are still participating in the general sport of extreme sports. I hope that makes sense and helps people understand that this video is a man rolling through the city, jumping over curbs, jumping over things, looking at where he's going, and going fast too. He's not slow, he's hauling. And this level of experience, skill, and talent to do this safely, efficiently, is still extremely cool to this day. And with that, we should also, that was all 1 foot, that was super cool. With all of that in perspective, this style of inline is no different than the people who make content like this. So this is just cruise content. Cruise content is no different than what I would perceive as what we just watched with the inline content. It's just the same concept with a little bit of street skating thrown in. Cruiser boards are typically similar in fashion to that of longboards, having a softer wheel, a wider wheelbase, a wider axle length, and ultimately have faster ceramic bearings that are highly lubricated and protected so that you can go quick and glide for very, very, very long distances and not be too worried about the terrain. It's the same reason why companies like Avenue Trucks exist, to kind of remove the suspension, remove the lack of suspension from a skateboard and add some level of suspension. And where those kinds of trucks really shine is this level of skateboarding, where you are just cruising the streets, soft wheels in the city, not trying to use too much energy, letting the hills and everything kind of support you. That's where cruising comes in, and that takes us right into the next level of skateboarding, which is longboarding, which is something that I also participate in. I'm a longboarder. I have 3 longboards. I have an electric longboard for 4 foot, 5 foot. I think it's a 4 foot. I have a 4 foot downhill, and then I have a smaller city cruiser, kind of like these ones here for sliding. And I was training in all of these. I was training for downhill and slide. Bombing is its own sport entirely. It's its own skill, talent entirely, and is fucking awesome. Look at this. Like, what? even within longboarding, you have multiple variations of styles and tricks and movements and structures to what you can and cannot do. In longboarding, you're not going to see a lot of freestyle stuff, but there is longboard freestyle. That is its own subset that people participate in. This here is downhill bombing with slides, which is its own entirely thing. And you can take this longboard style and you can translate longboarding right back to freestyle skateboarding. And what's super interesting is freestyle skateboarding obviously has its roots in its own thing with Rodney Mullen and his absolutely incredible history and legendary talent on a skateboard. But freestyle skateboarding and longboarding have crossover because there's a lot of style of movement that is very popular in freestyle skateboarding that people will do and translate onto longboard, called board dancing, slides, nose slides. And you can actually do majority of these tricks on some of these longboard tricks at slower paces with their own modern variations thrown on them. But the core concept is still the same. Get in motion and move the board. You're still participating in what is an export ultimately. So when I see somebody at the skate park who is doing freestyle like this in a flatland area versus somebody who's doing vert, they're both equally respected by me because they're both extremely cool and interesting sports amongst themselves, whether or not I participate in that particular sect of style in the sport. So it brings me back to like my childhood, which was obviously going to be BMX right out of the gate. Getting a cool bike and riding BMX was like everybody's long dream back in the day. And I remember when I got a BMX bike and it wasn't anything fancy. It was just like a Diamondback, whatever. And I mean, Diamondback is and will always be a pretty respected name, but by today's standards, I don't think their bikes are as good as they were. However, I just was always so impressed with BMX, and I had to learn it. And so I started practicing and was doing foot plants and spines and basic airs and basic bar whips or bar spins. I never whipped. But I was able to get pretty comfortable on the BMX bike itself, not to this degree, of course, but enough to have a level of respect and understanding for the complexity and difficulty of this sport to, as a teenager and now as an adult, I don't look at it any differently than the inliners at the beginning of this video. These are still very difficult tricks, still done within a skate park, within the landscape of availability that we all participate in. And we can participate in these as a group and as a community and come together to create way better experiences and have way better friendships and create a business that can support itself by having support from all of us as a group instead of it just being one specific thing like skateboarding and only popsicle sticks and maybe a couple cruisers. No, let's throw some freestyles in there. Let's throw some plastics. Let's throw some grip tape guards for your rear, nose, and tail. Like, no, we need to support all of this as a community. We need to come together and say all of these things are collectively under the umbrella of extreme sports, and that includes probably to one of the most influential videos of my childhood, and that is the wakeboarding film from circa 2000 called Nothing. And this video was so cool to me because I lived on a lake. I live on a lake right now. And I was actually able to get a wakeboard and generally learn how to do it. I don't have a sports platform or anything here at this lake. It was just the wake of the boat in front of me pulling me. And I feel like a lot of people don't talk about water sports in the same vein as X sports, but they are. And I want to share wakeboarding with people as much as I can because it's something that is super cool and I'm passionate about and I love, just like Rodney Mullen loves skateboarding. So when people talk about water skiing and barefoot skiing, 1 foot skiing, wakeboarding, kneeboarding, all of these sports, they all fall under the same umbrella to me, and I push these people to push the sport even further because I want to see how far these things can go. And this is early 2000s. If you look at modern wakeboarding, it is nuts. So this is called Velocity, or wakeboarding by Zip, which is literally just a man-made body of water with this thing that pulls you on a zip line and you wakeboard it. Which is super sick. So with the advancements and the understanding that we have been able to get to a point of creating such an amazing new sport such as zipline water sports, of course I want to, as somebody who's interested in exports, to go to a place like this and show the learning experience and show my friends it. But first I need them to understand that all exports support each other, and once we get going and we learn skateboard inline and we get the basics of handling ourselves in these sports, we can translate our understanding and experiences into other sports. You're never going to be able to take skateboarding and become a master at, say, snowboarding, but you will be able to translate some of your understandings from skateboarding into snowboarding. And the same thing can happen with wakeboarding. It's just making it more aware to the community that these things exist, and we as a community of exports enthusiasts should be supporting and participating in them, even though it's not directly under our sport. So this is Skills with Phil. He's a downhill BMXer. I don't know if he does slopestyle or I'm sorry, downhill mountain biker, trail mountain biker. And this is just in the same territory with me as wakeboarding, as this sport that, I don't know, it just seems to be kind of disrespected or ignored. And I think that it's extremely beautiful. It's a sport that I am 100% investing my money into. I'm going to get me a decent slopestyle, full suspension, lightweight mountain bike. We do have some mountain bike trails out here near me, and I want to learn this as well. I think this is fantastic. I think as somebody who loves exports, this is absolutely up there as something that more people need to start getting involved in and trying out, especially if you have a passion for BMX. Start mountain biking. Learn the basic jumps, the bounces, the mani pads, the natural flow of the scenery, and then maybe one day you'll be able to get into slopestyle because it'll translate so much more efficiently for you. You can start in one sport and then cross sport into another, and it should come very natural and be a lot more simplified. It's like skateboarders picking up inline blades. Skateboarders who pick up inline blades are typically doing it for the leg strength, calf strength, ab strength, that core part of the body. But they're also doing it because you have to move your legs independently on a inline blades, as well as how your feet react to what you're doing and how your body reacts to what you're doing will allow you to then have better manipulation over the board underneath you when you're learning skateboarding. The Ambition snow skate video called Bleached. Freaking awesome. I highly recommend this video if you're interested at all in skateboarding or snowboarding. This is a awesome export. It's a cross-sport of snowboarding and skateboarding for street stuff. All you need is a shovel, and you can go set up anything you want with this sport. You can practice it and get really, really good at it. I have friends who do it, and they are very excited every winter to get out there and throw the snow skates in their truck and start tricking over stuff and doing kick flips and tray flips and grinding stuff out in the snow. And it's their own vibe that they've kind of created, and it's one of those things that I feel you might not have ever known was a thing had you not known that it might be your fault for not opening your mind to more of the exports community and narrowing your focus to a single thing, which is ultimately going to hurt your progress as an export fan. I would never turn down an invite for going snow skating just because I don't have a snow skate. I would definitely work on getting myself a pair of snow skates, getting myself some nice woolen socks, maybe a pair of shoes dedicated to the sport, and then work on getting into the sport myself. Because this is super cool, but you wouldn't really have this without the passion of the community. And I'm guessing a lot of these guys probably don't only do this. I'm sure they do a bunch of other stuff. And then, of course, you have the X Games and their vert stuff. And vert is still skating. It's still all of the things we've talked about here today. This still all falls in line with the exact same stuff. And we hear it in skateboarding. We hear it in inline. We hear it in scootering. We hear it everywhere we go. Vert, you're just not as good if you ride vert. You're not as good if you ride vert. You're not as good at park. You're not as good at street. Oh, you're just a vert dog. There are all kinds of just very bizarre insults thrown at people who choose to just ride a different way, but ultimately still do the exact same sport. It's all nonsense. Get rid of it. Throw it out. We don't need it. Have a passion. Have a passion. Fall in love with it. Support it. Why aren't people skateboarding? Here we go. Skateboard. Do something. Do all of it. It doesn't matter. That's the thing. And at the end of the day, in this conversation that we're having, we also need to take a look at new stuff that's popping off. Companies like Freeskate are popping up and doing things that are different, unique, and they are inventing new ways of participating in exports with a new dance-style glide footwork kind of thing that is a cross of inline, I guess, and a cross of ripstick, I guess, but it's sick, and people are still pretty against the idea of this, which I don't understand because it's just still export. It's still export at the end of the day. And this is only going to get bigger and bigger. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if people start adding some form of binding to these. They start making custom bottoms that you can grind. I definitely see the sport going a whole bunch of different places because it's like freestyle inline, but its own unique way of doing it. And absolutely no one should be just actively hating on this for any reason. It's super sick. And if somebody just wants to go out and buy these and you want to go inlining and skating and whatever, and they want to cruise with you on these, you should be fully supportive of that and push this sport, because this can be an export, or is an export. I'm going to say it is an export. In my mind it is, because a lot of these are tricks that I can understand. They're tricks that translate and aren't too difficult to grasp. I've seen him do unities and things like that. I don't know what they're called in this sport, but they're really cool to watch. Some inliners. Although you have some quad skates there too. Quad skating is another one of those things. This is Carly Gooley Craig. Quad skating is another one of those things that I'm really excited to see making a huge comeback, because the community behind it and the support for it is so powerfully feminine. So supporting this community has been super cool. Seeing the translation of them riding quad skates and getting into inline skates, translating tricks over, getting new tricks, the combination of gymnastics in it. I love it. I think quad skates are huge for exports. And I feel like if you're somebody who is, wanting to get way more people involved in the sports, way more sports involved in our favorite places to go, skate parks and spots and stuff like that, and we want to begin telling people it's okay to jump over gaps like this in the street and get people more comfortable with seeing extreme sports every single day and re-explode something like street skating in general. This is the kind of stuff we need to be supporting. These men and women who are out here doing quad skating, recording quad skating, supporting inlining, supporting quad skating as a whole. This is the start to amazing things. What they're doing is incredible. What they've been doing is incredible. None of these things are new. The thing is they're just not often associated as one collective community, which they are, in my eyes. So when somebody comes to me and they're like, oh, I'm interested in getting into an export, and I throw out the normal 4, and they're like, not really interested in those. And then I can start going into the stranger stuff, slope style, quad skating. I can get into free skating. I can get into snow skating. I can get into all of these different styles of sports and find just what they're looking for, because we're all trying to find things and do things, and the only way to do that is as a community, by supporting each other and being there for each other and supporting this entire export as a whole. I can't help but be... So I just wanted to bring some attention, some different styles of exports that are popping up. These are called crazy carts. And I don't know if you should really... I don't know if this would fall into exports. I like to call it exports because conceptually, you're in an urban environment. You can ride these in a street environment. You can ride these on a curvy environment. You can ride these in a pump track, in theory, as long as your wheelbase is high enough and you can get over any curve. So crazy carts to me are definitely in line with some form of export. And I would like to build one myself. I think they're super cool. I think they're electric. Yeah, they're electric. And they're just built for cruising through parks, getting your drift on, and having a good time. They're not loud, they're not noisy, they're not annoying. And you can do tricks in parking lots like 360. And you can see they got their t-shirts and the cool, unique things. And this is a whole hobby within itself that I feel like definitely deserves more respect, love, more people doing it. And I want to just real quick showcase that there are more toys that are becoming these exports. And that's another thing that people need to understand is just because you're learning skateboarding doesn't mean it's not a toy. It's a toy. Yeah, if you're doing it for fitness exercise, it's still a toy. It's just something that works for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want anybody to ever think that there's anything wrong with that. This is obviously not like a fitness-based thing. This is more of just a bunch of guys drifting around in some carts at a park, but ultimately it's still super cool. Check these out. Maybe build them for yourself. Look it up. See how they're built. Because from what I've heard, they're super fun, and it's popping off, and there's going to be tricks, and there's going to be designs that are made, and they're going to pop off probably, and it's going to be its own thing. But next we have to look at... So if one of those things just was not for you, and I haven't made it clear enough that you need to get out there and understand and love cross sports, because cross sports' entire point is cross the sports. Do more than one thing and train and learn to do multiple things. This is mountain boarding. It's another thing that's really easy to get into. It's very awesome. You can do it in urban environments. You can translate it and do it the way you want it to do it. I know quite a bit of people out here who snowboard and have mountain boards themselves and do both of them quite casually. It's a very fast, high-speed sport, very difficult. Very, very, very cool. Highly recommend you check this one out. It's out there, and it's doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But what else is going on? So this is the 2018 Evolve Skateboards, which was an electric longboard racing event, which was done to promote electric longboards. And this is what they were able to do for the race, which is super sick. I do think that this is probably one of the better ways of handling this. I don't really care for the boards and the wheels and the things like that. And real quick, I just want to. Really interested in getting into the longboard racing at one point in my life. I got into death races on I want to say it was a 42. And then I actually got into electric longboard racing. This is my electric longboard. This is the battery pack here. And this is the engine right here. It's a one-wheel drive system using urethane style wheels on ultra wide on a looser fit drop style deck by Blitzart. I've had intentions of getting back into this sport, especially because urban electric racing, specifically urban electric skateboarding, is really, 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 really cool, because you obviously need to kit out your deck like you would anything else. And there's different wheel sizes and styles and structures to this. Like, they're using bigger, muddier wheels. That one guy isn't. Because you have a higher RPM range and you can ultimately go faster. I mean, they're not going slow, by the way. They're going pretty quick. But urban is super cool. You get 8 people going, and you can get apps and stuff like that, and you can map it out on your app, and you race it, and it does the laps and the times and everything. And you could time trial yourself to see who's going faster, and create communities of local, park tracks that you do time trials on. You could put up chalkboards and write down your times, and you can do graffiti and write down your times. I don't give a shit. This is exports. This is exports. It's taking what we already know and love and expanding upon it so that other people can appreciate and enjoy what we love by creating something that they love. I mean, look at them celebrating. It's a great time. This is awesome. I hope to see that this does grow, and urban electric longboard racing is sick. So the question should be, when do I consider something not an extreme sport? And honestly, I don't know when I personally stop calling something an extreme sport. I know for a long time people looked at like the all-terrain race cups, Evolve, electric longboard racing, and they don't really support it or think it's extreme sports. I disagreed only because, like, when I would go to New York City and participate in electric longboard races, which were, a dime a dozen, maybe one a year, you'd find out through Facebook, some dude would make it, and you would go, and there'd be like 9 people there. And it's really sad because, I can talk to them and I'll be like, yeah, I absolutely love skateboarding. I absolutely love inlining. I do all of these things. I got 2 ATVs. I did time trials. And they're like, no, this is all I do. This is my passion. This is my love. My entire life is getting people to try this because this is the coolest thing ever. And I want people to understand that when you enter the category of X sports, that you are not only entering one sport, you are entering a community of people who live on the edge and challenge themselves every single day to become the best that they can through the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears that they pour just like you do over your sport. And if you honestly are going to stand there and say that your sport is better than anybody else's, you're the asshole. We need to make that clear. You're the asshole of the community who is causing this friction amongst hyperbole. I'm hyperbolizing. I'm just saying to check yourself before you're an asshole against other sports. At the end of the day, all I'm doing is saying is keep an open mind. Maybe consider trying out other sports. Maybe all I'm saying is your personality is not the sport in which you've chosen just because you're good at it. Your sport is not who you are as a person. You need to understand that breaking out of that and supporting everything as a community and building your role in that community and supporting that community and meeting people and being the one that's like, no, you got this, you absolutely got this, and supporting them on their tricks and being the one who's just like there for the sport and the community and truly is compassionate and passionate and loving towards their community. would not say the things that I have seen on the internet. It just would not be said if it was the truth. Being somebody who is in this sport with love, with compassion, when I see those things, I can't help but immediately think a fucking poser.